installment to Dolly Tales, our doll memory series. And today we are going to be talking about dolls that Colleen and I either swapped between us as kids or that we kind of mutually share. I think one of the main things that I get asked a lot is people are curious as to, well, who do you decide between the two of you who gets which dolls? Some people think we fight about dolls. I think some people read into it more than we do. For us, we share everything in life, and like that's what works for us, and we don't overthink it. So these dolls are ones that may have been swapped between us or ones that we kind of consider mutually ours. And some of them have made appearances in other videos, and I apologize for that, but these aren't all the dolls in our collection. Like pretty much any doll would be more considered like both of ours than just one of ours, but these are the ones that I feel most
fit the topic of the video.
Yes. So I guess we should start with Perfume Princess Jasmine, aka Reggie. I have a few of these, but I had one first, and her name was Myra. And I got her with my allowance money or something, and by the time Mom and Dad bought us the 5-pack, the gift set of the Perfume Princess dolls, which had 5 dolls, because there was 2 of us and 5 dolls, Mom and Dad said Colleen could have the extra doll, which would be Jasmine, because I already had Jasmine and that seemed the most fair, and you did play with her somewhat. I was really jealous. Like, I kind of would have rather had the Jasmine over any of the other dolls in the pack. This is funny because, like,
and I really didn't care that much about the Jasmine.
Some people get really like uncomfortable about having duplicates, but this is what I mean. Like, I always saw a use for it. My Myra was trashed by this point, and she's just a more attractive doll to begin with, so I really would have done anything to have the one Jasmine.
And I didn't care, so I would say she played with, always, like even when we were little, she played more with Reggie here, and I played more with Cinderella and Snow White, who were Shelley's.
Yes.
But when Shelley was about 11, Reggie actually became like this like full-fledged character in our doll games and like part of the main cast for quite some time.
Yeah. She was twins with my Perfume Jasmine doll named Myra, and I gave them the names. And they were little kids despite their boobs.
So this is Fun Treats Jello.
Yes.
Barbie from 2001. This is Desiree. Shelley bought, because we've always been obsessed in the sister sets. When Shelley was really into Kelly dolls, she got Desiree and Kid at the flea market, I want to say. I just was looking at her, I'm like, that is a really pretty Barbie. Like, why is Shelley not using this Barbie as the main character? Like, this is a really, really pretty Barbie. And at some point I'm like, can I play with this Barbie? I just really loved her, like, green eyes and her blonde hair. And for a while, she was really into one of her Ashley dolls, and I was really into Desiree, and they lived together, and Desiree was usually a telemarketer, and Ashley usually worked at, like, a coffee shop type thing. And we usually had them living in our Bath and Bubbles house, and it was like a time in our lives where Desiree was actually my main character.
That was right towards the end of like the last few times we played dolls.
Yeah, it was like toward the end of
when
like right before the doll hiatus.
14, 15. You guys.
Hey, John.
If
I looked like I was laughing a minute ago, this is why.
All the Coco on this channel if you've seen our skits. So, he is not my childhood guy. I have featured him in another one of these Dolly Tales videos. The reason why I decided to include him is because...
Where you talked about your childhood guy who we still don't have.
When I was growing up, I was the one who bought Coco with my allowance money. I really wanted him. I had such a crush on Coco in the movie. And so I got Coco when I was really little, like 3 or 4. And then when we got a little bit older, like when I was maybe 7 or 8, Colleen started playing with Coco, and that's kind of where the persona you see in the videos and the skits comes from. Like there's all these references to him dating Esmeralda. Like that's a throwback to our childhood. Even the accent Colleen does.
That was what I did.
And I think when she gave Coco the personality, it like made me love him even more. Because like Colleen just really, like, I know they're not like good in terms of accurate accents, but I just love her accents. It's kind of like I really enjoy doing the country accent, and Colleen likes doing all of like the male,
the weird ones,
like ethnic-y kind of accents. So In that way, I always considered Coco the persona as being like Colleen's, and the doll means just as much to her because he was someone she played with a lot as a kid. And then obviously I'm a huge Disney collector. He was one of my first Disney dolls as a kid, and then the guy here was one of my first dolls I bought as an adult collector to replace my childhood.
I would say he's Shelley's doll because he lives in her room, but he's my character when we've like acted stuff out.
And therefore it was very hard to decide like who got to write about him on Flickr. I ended up writing about him and John, but Colleen could have easily written just as many things, and a lot of what I talked about actually had to do with like Colleen's interpretation of Coco.
So this is Dance Club Barbie, aka Kula. So this doll is very, very old in our family. I got Kula probably when Shelley was about 2. I was with them at like an Oktoberfest kind of thing. And unlike a lot of our used Barbies from that time, she wasn't from my mom's mom, but from my dad's mom. And she bought me, her, and Shelley a Ken doll whose legs later fell off.
Crystal Ken.
I believe it was a Crystal Ken. Kula was like, I was the one who named her, but Shelley really took a shine to her for some reason. Like,
I love 80s Barbies even as a kid.
Yeah, and
I didn't even know
she's actually the one that made Kula over and made her look this good. And Kula is one of the ones that like, some of our other old ones like Kimberly, who needed a lot more work, and Christine, who needed a reroute. Those ones were like, looked good later, but Kula is actually one that Shelley got looking pretty spiffy when we were kids. And there was this whole scene with Kula in a grocery store, in the camping game where Kula, it was like done like a musical theme where there were all these songs, and
you had all of these Ken dolls, and they would go ooh la la,
ooh la la, Kula, and she was like supposed to be sitting on the counter in the grocery store, and it was really great. Do you have anything you want to add about Kula?
I think part of why I liked her so much as a kid is because she has these like triangular earrings, and she just has a really funky look about her, and I like unique looking dolls. I always have. She was one of the ones I really, really wanted to identify as an adult collector, and that's why if you guys watch my channel regularly, in our Memorial Day Madness treasure hunt and corresponding transformation video, we bought a third one of Kula, who was like in really nice condition because I can't help myself.
And it's funny because when I saw it, I was like, it's Kula. We love Kula.
But Kula's actually almost as nice as the other two. She just never had her outfit. She came in like it was like a fakey one-piece jumpsuit that had like yellow and heart print. It was really tacky. This is the Eric and Max gift set. Eric, don't be deceived by the swim trunks. He's got the bent arms. He was kind of a dream doll of me and Colleen's when I first got back into collecting dolls in 2011. It was Disney that got me back into collecting, and I had Margot Rana's Disney doll identification and price guide, and that was kind of like a wish list for us, and the Little Mermaid dolls in particular were something I really wanted. And the reason why we both loved the Eric dolls by Mattel is because they kind of resemble the 90s Aladdin dolls by Mattel, and if you know anything about us, like Leroy, Water Jewel Magic Jasmine is like, Aladdin is one of like the most infamous dolls in our collection. So we really wanted him, and then at the beginning of 2012, that flea market season, he turned up, actually from the woman I got my very first secondhand Disney doll from as an adult collector, Real Riding Con Mulan lady. She had him, and he was wearing like his pants with an 80s Ken sweater, and we had to get him. He was in really beat up shape, and they had to like touch up all his hair paint, but he kind of was a doll we both really wanted, and although we don't really like play with dolls like we used to as kids, it was kind of always like this unspoken thing that if we were to, Eric would totally be like Colleen's character.
And we did play with him once. Him and Coco worked together at like Coco owned like a fish market, and Eric helped him run it, or maybe Eric owned it and I know that one of them was the owner and the other like was the partner, the business partner. So yeah, so I got to play with Eric that time, and it was really fun.
We did shamelessly play with dolls without camera.
Yeah, this was way
in 2011 and 2012, I think was maybe 2013 was. It was like once in a great while because it's a lot to set the dolls up, and it kind of bothers both of us about having things where they should be. So she's been in another video.
So Bumblebee Katie. So this is not our childhood doll. She's just representing her. A long time ago, Shelley and I got into this phase for kidcore dolls. Toward the beginning of it, Shelley got a Bumblebee Katie, as we call her, the Bumblebee Katie. It was originally Shelley's doll, but Shelley grew bored, and when we only had two, so her and the Christmas dressed one.
It was like a
they were blue
holiday
outfits.
Barbie sister set knockoff.
Yes, it was so cute. We had her and that one.
You can actually find it on eBay really easily.
Shelley got bored of Katie and said, you know what, Colleen, you play with Katie. And I'm like, really? Okay. And I don't know, even after the kidcore phase, like, I stayed into Katie, which is something that neither of us realized until later, was that, like, Shelley got me, when we were back into Barbies and the Barbie boycott was over, Shelley got me Holly and Katie Kids, two of my favorite Katie dolls, who I actually still have from my childhood. For Christmas one year, there was always a Katie doll in all the doll games. Like, and it just became this thing with me. And when I got my Katie with the poodle, or the Princess Katie, Katie took off and like took on this whole persona and became like a permanent fixture, but she already kind of was. Because it's one of those situations where it might have started off as something that Shelley bought, but it ended up becoming so deeply ingrained in me as a doll collector that both of us kind of forgot.
Okay, and then we have Florida Vacation Skipper, aka Wendy. I can't remember if you bought her or if I bought her.
And that's something neither of us are sure on. I feel like I might have bought her and then Shelley played with her, but I actually feel like it was Shelley who bought her. I'm not sure.
But the reason why she's in this video is because I was about 12 maybe when we got this doll, and at the time Skipper was Colleen's thing. She was exclusively playing with Skipper, but when she started getting access to buying the 1987 mold Skippers on eBay, she kind of was too cool for the like tall ones that were currently in stores. And so I found, I think I found her at the flea market, if I remember right. I fell in love with her face. She always kind of looked like Carrie Underwood to me, and I actually did play with her quite a bit, her and Colleen's Fashion Party Nikki. Although we have multiples of these now, and Colleen has reaccepted the tall Skippers back into her main obsession, I still think of this doll as being more mine.
Yeah, even if the Skipper collection as a whole is more mine.
And I mean, I remember like playing with her a lot, and I can still remember some of the things I did with her, so she'll always be really special to me for that reason.
Teen Time Courtney, aka Daphne, was one of our very first dolls from Mom's parents when they worked for the Salvation Army. I've talked about getting her before, so I won't go too into detail about it. But there was a time when, even though Daphne was originally mine, Oliver!
Oh God. Sorry, he's having a mental break, and there's this box with some stuff set aside for a future chinchilla, and he just jumped in it.
You have to leave that on tape, that's hilarious.
That was the rattling, because there's a water bottle in there.
Are you okay,
Bye.
Oliver? The cat just took a weird
That noise he makes is what he used to do in the bath, and that's why we don't give him baths anymore.
He's not. So now my cat has stopped being wacko. There was a time when Shelley took kind of a fancy to like, I was really into Kelly, Shelley was into Barbie, and then there were the in-betweens, like the Skippers and the Stacys, that neither of us was really like the strong owner of. But Shelley took a brief fancy of Daphne, and then
I bought a lot of Skipper fashion packs for her.
Shelley was about 11 and I was about 15. I got back into Skipper actually when Coco was the father of the family. So she was one of Coco's daughters, and that's when I rechanged her name to Daphne from originally Dyson. And now he's on your lap.
Hi, I'm gonna be on camera.
He's okay. He survived whatever that strange insanity was. And Daphne will always be one of our favorite dolls because she has such a special history. She was in my main cast even after I got other dolls, and she was kind of like the frenemy. Daphne will always have a special place in our hearts.
I always talked about this guy on this channel. So my very first Barbies were secondhand ones from the Salvation Army, from my maternal grandparents. One was Icecapades Barbie, aka Christina, who you formerly met in a Dolly Tales episode. But this is Kevin, All-American Ken.
And we actually got him and Daphne together, but Daphne was mine.
Kevin Kevin was mine, and I loved him. He actually did not have the name Kevin when I was a kid. I think I just called him Ken. But as we got a little bit older, you can see how loose his arms are, Colleen started playing with the Ken dolls, and I basically let her have Kevin, and she was the one who named him Kevin and played with him all the time. Now this is, he's still one of my favorites, and I still very much consider him like one of my dolls. I mean, he was my first Barbie, and he was also my first guy doll, and he's kind of what got me into guy dolls. So Kevin's a really important part of my history as a doll collector.
But I also kind of consider him one of my dolls because in my teens, when I got really into the Ken phase, he got his name around 2002 when Leroy, my Water Jewel Magic Aladdin, did. And after that, he was kind of like a floating cast member with that name. But when I got Chandler about a year or two later, he became one of like the main friends of Chandler, and he was in a lot of scenarios. He worked in the post office. So he's a big part of my history too. So he's definitely one of those shared dolls, I would say.
Yeah, these two go together because they were both mine.
So in
They've been in videos.
the late 90s, Shelley saw a school photographer Becky doll at a friend's house and got doll envy, and then used her allowance money to buy one. Shelley really liked Becky and enjoyed her for a few games, but Shelley was always very fickle and very changeable, and unlike me, didn't stick to like one favorite doll for as long.
Plus, my friend's doll was more attractive.
Yeah, that's true. This Becky isn't one of the more attractive ones I've seen. Because I, for some reason, I've always been obsessed with wheelchairs. Like when I was like 5, I was trying to use my stroller as a wheelchair, and I actually hurt my finger doing it. Actually, at our local flea market. Mom and Dad were pushing me around when I was like 5. I don't know, I was really obsessed with wheelchairs, and I pressured Shelley when I was like 10 to be a male character in a wheelchair in a made-up game. Like, I was just obsessed in the idea of wheelchairs. I was obsessed in the idea of like illness. I was obsessed in like, you know, like anything medical. So I was fascinated by Becky, and I didn't just ask Shelley flat out, hey, can I play with Becky? Because the type of kid I was I didn't like to share. And the type of kid she was she didn't really care once she was bored of something. She wasn't weirdly possessive.
I wasn't bored of it. I wouldn't have minded sharing.
Yeah, she wasn't weirdly possessive, and it was obvious that she was bored of Becky, but I think it was my pride that held me back. Like, well, I have no right to be weirdly possessive when I know if I asked her to use that Becky doll, she wouldn't care. So instead, I snuck her into this camping game. There's going to eventually be a whole episode about the camping game. And part of why the camping game honestly lasted over 2 months, like 3 months of our lives, is because I didn't want to stop playing with Becky. And then I said to Shelley at the end of the camping game, the truth is, I just really still want to play with Becky, and we'll do anything to make that possible. She's like, just keep playing with Becky, I don't care. She didn't expect it to be this whole thing. So then, circa 2003, Shelley found this Becky box to the flea market, and she bought her as like a collector enthusiast. And I was resentful because I was like, well, we can't both play with a doll in a wheelchair, it won't be cool anymore.
I actually found her ugly.
And, right, because I really love the 90s, so I was like, oh my god, this is the prettier, frumpier Becky that I really want to play with.
No, the plaid. The plaid. I always liked that.
And I love the 90s, like early 90s, like clothes, like the iconic original Becky. Like, this was Becky on steroids,
Like,
and I wanted to play with her.
Like, she's got the like canvas high top shoes and the plaid jacket. This is what my Pretty and Punk Chloe wears when she's me.
I know, she's more like your style, and this is more my style. So this was, in my opinion, the better Becky with the pink wheelchair, and I was like, I just can't wait for her to be done playing with it. And I was like wicked sour and salty and bitter and not being a good sport for the whole like 2 days she played with this doll. And I kept thinking, she's not even playing with her right. She's making her like walk when she feels like it, not keeping her in the chair. Like, oh my god.
I found a doll being in a wheelchair boring.
And I was like, I need this doll in my life. So I bid it out my, like, I think less than a week, like maybe a day or two.
It's like 2 days.
And then, if even, maybe like 1.5 days.
I only remember playing with her at that cash register we got the same day.
I remember you playing with her once in our like dolls imaginary house. Like, you made her go to the door. And that's what I remember when someone rang the doorbell. I remember her going to the door, and I was like, I was so mad that I wasn't even enjoying playing, and I'm sure I was miserable to play with. And if anything, it was probably a relief for her when she finally was like, you know what, this isn't worth Colleen being mad at me.
I think I remember you two like pretending to be all hesitant, like, oh, I mean, I guess.
Oh my god, and I was just like bidding my time. And I actually, because I liked her styling so much, I probably played with her on the whole, like when I think of the Becky I played with, like circa 2003, this is kind of the doll I usually envision. So I really love this doll. This is one of my favorite dolls. And even though Shelley was the one who bought her, she's definitely more mine, along with the other Becky.
Yeah, you got boxed versions of both of them.
Yes, I did. Recently I got a boxed version of this doll.
Not boxed anymore, but...
Not boxed anymore.
We have Little Friends, quote-unquote, Picnic Jenny, and Little Friends First Edition Chelsea. These were both dolls of Colleen's when we were growing up. But I was always really jealous of these two Kelly dolls in particular because I love Asian dolls. Like, always one of my favorite kinds of dolls to buy and play with. Chelsea is just adorable. She's one of the cutest Kelly dolls of all time. She's got red hair and freckles and green eyes and this cute little outfit. So I was like really, really jealous. But eventually Colleen grew up, wasn't as possessive, was bored of Kelly, and it was actually the summer we lost Mom. She gave me all of her Kelly stuff and I said, well, you can have all of her Skipper and Stacy stuff. So they became mine, and these were two of my most played with Kellys, even over ones that like I bought later for myself.
Jenny I was never really as into. I remember the night I got her in the car. Chelsea was like a main cast member for me when we were little. She was like the talkative friend of my main character.
Her personality kind of stayed the same when I...
Yeah, exactly.
I took the personality you gave her and incorporated it into my telling. And then I renamed Jenny Naomi, and she was Coco's daughter.
This is Polly Pocket Whitney. So we each got, I got Stacy and she got Whitney from Mom's parents, but not...
Used.
Yes, used. Whitney was one of those dolls that, like I said, the Skippers and Stacy's, they kind of bounce back and forth. I have this vivid memory, for some reason, of Whitney and Stacy sitting in our Barbie bathtub eating Oreos, either in bathing suits or with no clothes on. No, they're wearing those fakey dresses that you pretended were their bathing suits. Yeah. And I remember Shelley playing with them then, and about the time that I gave over the Kelly, she said I could use all the Skippers and Stacy's, which worked for me because even though like Skipper I would say is more important to me now, something about Polly Pocket Stacy always resonated with me as a kid, even when I wasn't really into her. I always loved the idea of her, and Whitney kind of just went along with her. But of the two now, I would say they've kind of come equal. Stacy's the more iconic, but Whitney's the one that feels more almost like mine and beloved, which is funny because she started as Shelley's. And Whitney's one of those dolls that even though she started as Shelley's, I look at her and I only see her as mine.
Same.
Which is kind of like the exact opposite of, and now would be a good time to talk about this one.
So this was my American Girl, Kirsten. Now she was actually Colleen's.
For Christmas in '98.
Yeah, so I got Felicity and Colleen got Kirsten, and if you don't know, we planned this together because then we would have all of the historical dolls that were currently out. I talked Colleen into getting Kirsten because I wanted Felicity more, but I wanted Kirsten too. And
so she's like, I would just like to get her in the
I talked
house.
her into, I was like, oh, you know, she's got her braids, she's like a blonde Molly. I really like talked up Kirsten to Colleen. And then we opened her and Felicity at the same time, and we planned it so when we pulled off the box covers, they'd be facing each other. So Felicity and Kirsten are kindred spirits. However, Kirsten has new eyes, so I don't know if that affects her ability to remember that. But
which is funny because my favorite thing when we got Kirsten was the one thing I really loved about her was her blue eyes.
So because Colleen wasn't really into Kirsten and it wasn't really her own, it's not like the Josephina doll she had that I renamed Isabel later, where it was a doll you did want. She didn't do anything with Kirsten. I don't remember Kirsten even changing clothes.
I literally remember playing with her one time in the homemade nightgown that I made.
And then I remember when she realized she only wanted to have Molly, she used to have this dresser down in her room, and she put all of the dolls she didn't want behind the mirror, and they would go away. As someone who, I'm a doll polygamist, I have love for them all. I kind of coerced Colleen to letting me clean them up, and then it kind of happened, I think, one by one. I think Colleen said, well, you can take Kirsten out for the day. And I remember vividly, my mom used to do cleaning. She cleaned offices and cleaned people's houses. and we would go with her on weekends when she would clean offices and help out. And then while my mom was cleaning things that we couldn't help out with, we would play. And outside this this place, it was like where they sold oil. We would like have a picnic outside, and I remember I'd like bring the catalogs and I'd talk about, oh, what clothes we could get for Kirsten. And at some point Colleen was just like, you can have Kirsten. And then eventually I got her other 2 dolls too. And she actually always forgets that Kirsten was her Christmas gift and not mine.
I do. It's one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Kirsten was mine. This is Movie Magic Ashley, our childhood one, who got naked at a large indoor flea market circa 2003 or 4. I played with her and
My first edition.
yes, first edition Ashley, alternately as a character named Shawnee that I invented. The reason being is that Shelley always kind of liked the Mary Kate and Ashley's. She developed a Mary Kate and Ashley snobbery the way I did with Skipper,
Yes.
which is that she liked the ones on the like bodies without the twist and turn waist, whereas I like the Skippers.
Can you blame me?
I know, she's very jiggly and wiggly, and because this is a Skipper body, I was like, oh, well, she's like Skipper. So I kind of took an interest in her. And even though I think the other doll, the first edition's prettier, this is the doll I always think of as Shawnee and really took a shine to. And she was a character I played with for a little while, and I really like her.
So then we have Water Jewel Magic Jasmine. This was Colleen's doll when we were growing up.
Mom bought me her because you lost my Jasmine in the store. I don't know how you
So you got both Water Jewel Magic dolls because
you either broke or lost my classic doll, yes.
I didn't do it.
I don't think it was Shelley's fault. In retrospect, I feel like we were just under an Aladdin curse. The dog ate it all. Young Shelley either lost, broke, or ruined everything.
Well, that's why if you watch my Aladdin collection, why so many are like pristine and from eBay, because I just wanted to way overcompensate as an adult collector. Jasmine was, and to this day is, my favorite Disney princess. And even though I found her makeup really gaudy, my classics Jasmine that I got when they re-released them for my 4th birthday, let's just say she went bald and her hand got chewed and she was ugly. So eventually Colleen let me play with her, and I remember she was actually the very first doll I ever like fixed up. And I was like 7 at the time. I had that Johnson & Johnson's No More Bedhead spray, and I remember I detangled all of her hair. And so when I think of this doll, she's actually the first one that I really made over. And she also lost her head at some point, kissing Hollywood hair candy. She used to wear my Olivia doll, who is Pioneer Woman Barbie's.
Pioneer
Barbie, her outfit. Yeah, she was my only Jasmine for a long time, up until Sparkling Jasmine came into my life.
And she's such a big part of our like childhood and our lives that she's made a few cameo appearances and like photos that aren't really about her, but she's dressed in things that Shelley made her wear as a kid.
Her like uniform was this, it's supposed to be a swimsuit, but it looked more like a bra and panty set. It was red polka dots, and then I had my Happen in Hair Christie dolls, big bell-bottom jeans, and I would put her in either Christie sneakers or like those classic white tennis sneakers from the 90s. And I thought that that was like really bomb as a kid. It's so tacky.
We have Bath Time Fun Kelly, aka Kelsey, later called Leslie. Do you want to talk a little bit about when you picked her out?
Okay, so we both went to a store with Mom and Dad, and we were allowed to pick out each a doll in a certain price range.
I've been planning on getting Bedtime Kelly for like, it was like my dream for like what felt like an eternity as a kid.
See, I don't think I even knew that they existed, so that was my first time seeing the Kelly dolls in stores, and I was really excited about that. And I wanted the African American Bedtime Kelly, but since Colleen got the blonde, I ended up picking out the African American Bath Time Fun Kelly.
Because I was like pressuring her.
And she was my very first African American doll. And that's kind of what sparked my whole interest in like getting American Girl Addie, and you know, then further and so on in the later years. And I did love her and play with her a lot, but then Colleen ended up taking a shine to her.
Yeah, and I was obsessed with Kelly, but I was playing by myself, mostly with Teacher Barbie, Bath Time Kelly, a few friend dolls that I had, and Jeffrey, Hollywood Hair Ken. but then Shelley really wanted me to play with her, and she was never as like weird about sharing as I was, so she bribed me by saying I could play with her Kelly doll. And Kelsey kind of took on this like whole life of her own. It was this like whole thing with like Ariel and Kelsey that that was like a big change like for both of us in terms of doll collecting. That was what transitioned it from her playing separately by herself and me playing by myself to us playing together. And she was for a while definitely more my doll. And I have this one like really vivid memory of her where I sat her down by our TV in the living room.
It's on top of the record player.
Yeah, and then I spent a month looking around the house for her, and it drove me crazy because she was like my favorite doll and we couldn't find her. We looked everywhere for Kelsey. And I kind of like decided I was bored of Kelly. It took me several years to get to the point where I was okay with Shelley playing with Kelly because I was. So then after that, Shelley kind of took her back, and she's just one of our favorite dolls.
I actually bought a newer one of her at the flea market. I found one boxed when I was about 10. And really the first doll that we truly shared.
Definitely.
And then,
last but not least,
there was actually a bit of a debate over who would mainly talk about this fella, and it really shouldn't be a surprise, but it's Dracula. The famous Pepsi loving Dracula.
So my friend Beth and I were conspiring about a year ago for Shelley's 27th birthday. And I kind of thought in the back of my mind that this kitchen set was what I wanted to get her because she's really into family dolls, we both are. She's really into doll food, we both are. We were really both into Monster High at the time, especially her. Guy dolls, and the fact that it was a dad doll, I mean, come on.
And Dracula is one of my favorite characters from the Monster High.
Exactly, Dracula might be her favorite girl character of the Monster High line. So I just knew this was kind of what I wanted to get her. I was pricing it online to see if I could get it cheaper online. And then I kind of conspired with Beth over the phone about, well, if we tell Shelley we're going out to a restaurant that she wouldn't want to go to, then we could go out gift shopping after the restaurant. Which is what we did. Shelley had no idea. Dracula and Draculaura spent like several weeks like hiding at Beth's house, and she wrapped them and everything, and she brought them back over for Shelley's birthday. It was this like really exciting thing.
And I had only seen this set actually a few times in stores. It wasn't stocked everywhere, and it was usually like $45 because it wasn't something that was always stocked. It didn't seem to get like lowered in price. So I kind of thought I wasn't realistically going to get it, and I kind of had shoved it to the back of my mind despite really wanting it. And when the day of my birthday came, like we never do anything for my birthday, and so I kind of thought something fishy was going on because Beth conveniently wanted to come over on my birthday, but I didn't know when I saw the present box that they would have actually gotten me dolls. Because some people are kind of weird about that, like they don't want to buy you dolls. And then
when you're past a certain age.
When I opened them, Beth had put speech bubbles. I actually have a video of me opening this set on my channel. And there was like little speech bubbles about like how, oh, this is our new home and blah blah blah. And it was done in like the Transylvanian accent, the way Beth had written it.
And I love doing accents, and she loves hearing me do accents. So, you know, that was kind of what got us inspired to do the voice.
And then
I was like, I think we will be very happy here.
And then how he kind of ended up becoming such an important personality on the channel was because we were planning on doing a second installment of As Told by Dollies. And Colleen was digging through the container. We were only supposed to have 2 therapists in our What Dolls Talk About in Therapy, or What Happens to Dolls in Therapy, whatever it was.
What happens when dolls go to therapy?
Right. She's like, oh, you know, he kind of looks like a therapist with his glasses. And I'm like, wait, we should totally put him in. He has an accent. And then as we were kind of discussing, like, okay, well, who will he be talking to? Because we have some plan. A lot of it's ad-libbed, but we have some plan of, like, where it's going to go so we can have the appropriate dolls and accessories out. I don't know how it happened. He ended up just being in the Pepsi. So I set up his office to have like pictures of Pepsi, and I never expected it to snowball. And I guess why he's kind of like shared is because part of what gives him life is when Colleen, you know, acts things out with him. And so a lot of times when we pull him out, like Colleen will just start talking in the voice. And one time when we were filming, it was actually
this is funny.
the If Dolls Were YouTubers skit. Colleen was practicing his voice, and I was downstairs getting something. I forgot.
I'm in here all by myself, just like doing the accent,
She's
trying
like,
to get it right.
1, 2, 3, 1.
And it was just like really funny because you could hear me. And she's like, Colleen, are you having fun up there? I'm like, I'm getting into character.
So yeah, that's why he's kind of a doll that we consider that we share. Yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this video and meeting these dolls that we shared, and maybe that'll give you some insight into like, I guess, how we conceive like our collection and what's whose. We really honestly share like everything in life and in doll collecting, and I think that that's kind of the beauty part of it, is like, I don't know, I wouldn't want it to be like when we were little kids and it was, no, this is mine. I think it became a lot of fun when we grew older and we were able to share everything, and now that we're adults and it literally, there is no distinguishing factor of what's mine and what's hers, it makes it that much more special. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, and love your life.